Okay. Welcome to the next lecture. Let's start by addressing some questions on the assignment number 2. Well, let's step back one step and say that I'm very happy how you managed to go through all the tasks in assignment 1. Almost over 90% of the class completed assignment 1 before the deadline. Awesome job, everyone. So assignment 2, there is some discussion or questions regarding the automated correction system. And please note that, the automated correction system has been written this summer, so it's a pretty new system. So there are probably a lot of bugs in it. So I know that some of you have had some problems getting your public web server to work with this system, or you get very weird feedback. You seem to, when you test it manually, your application works, but when you try it with the automated testing system, you get some other result, right? Let's take this one as with a bit of let's say we will not be so hard on that one, right? Since if it's our fault, does not matter if you don't if you cannot communicate with the automated testing system, right? So if it's a bug in the automated testing system that does something that makes it very hard for you to test your application, for instance, that the automated testing function or system sends some weird input that does not work with your web server or whatever. If you have some, let's say, cheaper web hotels, it might take too much time to do all these requests, stuff like that. If it's our fault, it won't affect your grade. Everyone okay with that? So it's supposed to be a helpful thing both for you guys in order to test your solutions, but also a helpful thing for us. I don't know if you have checked that. Oh, this can be a bit. I don't know if you have tested the automated tests yet. Around 40 of you have done so. And it seems to work for some at least. But if you know that, okay, I have some kind of problem with this testing tool, we need, or I need that feedback in order to fix the testing tool so it works for more students, right? So if you have a problem that you think that it's not your fault, then you just private message me on Slack and post your web hotel link to your public server so that I can test against it, right? So how many of you have got it to work right now? A couple, half of the class here. Some of the online students, yes, good. How many knows right now that you have some kind of issues with this system or some kind of problems? Okay, 2 in the class. How many online? Didn't look at the screen. Okay. So I expect some, let's say, complaints or feedback in Slack from you guys. So that I can test against your web servers. It might be, let's say, an error on your behalf, but then you will get at least some kind of feedback from me, right? Yes? Okay. Any more questions regarding assignment 2? Everyone knows that next week we won't have any lectures, so it's like full speed on these assignments since it's deadline, right? And Well, I want to say something about it more. Please note that there are some test cases that are mandatory and some are for extra credit. So please start with the ones that are mandatory and complete those first, right? Because if you want to get approved, you need to fulfill all of those, right? And the testing system does not really distinguish between these. So the testing system does not know which is which. Sorry, Amanda, I don't understand the question. Oh, assignment 3 has not been released yet. Amanda asks when we should get started on assignment 3. So I will release assignment 3 this week. I just need some time to test it through. I've done some changes from last year, so I need to test those changes and then I need to deploy it. But it's just a matter of getting a couple of hours of testing before, so we remove the worst mistakes on my behalf, right? So assignment 3 will be released ASAP. Okay, let's go back to what we did last time. So we did a bit of programming, and hopefully you do remember at least some of the things we did. So we had these use cases where we have products, and someone is going to like vote for products or like products, right? And these were the classes we constructed last time. So we have a product catalog, and this is in the model. And a product catalog contains a number of products in some kind of array. So we have products and product catalogs in our model. So those were our model classes. And we had one controller, and that was the store controller. And we actually had 3 views, but I'm only showing 2 of them here. We had the product view that could render a product or create HTML representation of a product, and we had a product catalog view that could create an HTML list from a set of products, right? And you can see the relationships, the direction of the arrows, that a product and a product catalog have no arrows to the other classes, right? There is no relationship from a model class to a non-model class. So the model itself does not have any arrows out of it. So model class cannot communicate, let's say right now cannot communicate with a class outside. A view class, if you check the direction of the view classes, you can see that they have arrows down to the model classes, but no arrows to the controller. So the view knows of the model. And finally, the controller has arrows to everything right now. So the controller knows the model, and the controller knows the view. And it needs those relationships in order to fulfill the use cases, because the use cases is a communication between the user, which in the controller is represented of the view, and the system that is in the controller is represented of the model, right? So in our use cases, we have the user wants to view a product, or wants to, the user wants to view a product. So the controller makes sure that the user gets to see the product he wants to use. So we use these relationships in order to fulfill the use case. Right now, we don't really have any state in this in this application. We're going to get a state today, hopefully. I've seen some questions on Slack that what is the nature of this relationship from the view to the model? What can a view do? And I want to point out that this relationship here should be viewed as read only. What I mean with that is that views should never change the state of the model. In a view, you never put anything that changes anything in the model. Like you can, let's say that later on in this application, we're going to like different products. So user likes a product. So which products have the information or the state on which products that are liked or not should be in the model. A view could extract the information on how many users have liked this model through this relationship. But if we want to change how many likes there is, the controller must be involved. So the controller can ask the view, does the user want to change how he thinks of a product? Does the user want to vote for a product? And if so, the controller asks the model, okay, this user wants to change the state. And this can be sort of right. Oh, not calibrated screen. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. So last time we left the code with an error, and that was to increase our chances to get productive really early. So this is what I do a lot of the time. I actually create errors and then I commit. Hopefully not in a when I work with other users. Then I work in a separate branch, but with other programmers. Don't break the build is a good thing, right? But if you're not done and you need to continue, you're probably working in a branch, right? And then you can create these errors. And in this case, I sort of saw a need in the code but didn't have time to complete that part of the code. I needed a navigation view. So we're going to do a quick browse through all the code that we've written to see if the relationships that we've talked about just now exist. And I've actually done some changes to the code. I've moved the code into different folders, and I've also added a bit of documentation, mostly like this. So I've only documented the types of these instances to make it a bit easier to continue. Okay. So let's go to the model first. We have a product, and I've actually changed the product a little bit. I've added a description, another data field to each product. So the description, like the other arguments to the constructor, comes in through the constructor, and we have some kind of assert here to make sure that we never create a product with the wrong state. So every product must have a title. Every product must have a description. The title and description must be bigger than 0, the length of the title and the length of the description. The price needs to be a numeric, and it also needs to be larger than 0. And I've kept these two different ways of handling these things. I have asserts and I have exceptions. Asserts are creating errors that are supposed to be handled by a programmer by changing code. And the exceptions are supposed to be handled by code, right? So we create exceptions in order to catch those exceptions somewhere and handle this error. Perhaps handle faulty user input or something like that. And then I save all this information in my private member variables. And then I have these accessor methods, like you've seen in assignment 1, that basically extracts the information and returns that information so that we can create a HTML view of it, right? Pretty simple. The product catalog is almost as simple. It contains an array of products. And we have an add method that adds this product. We have some domain rule that a product catalog cannot contain two products with the same unique ID, so that we don't have two Sony TVs of the same size on different places and stuff like that. You can have other kind of domain rules, like, okay, they're not supposed to be two users with the same username. We also have accessors. The first one is sort of like what we've seen in product, and the second one is a bit more intelligent. So this one extracts a product and from a string. And we had some system down here that we store these products inside this array, and we make use of the associative arrays in PHP so that we can store things on these unique IDs, unique keys in the array. Okay, let's check the store controller. It has a couple of member variables. We have a selected product to distinguish the two states that we have in the, not the model right now, but in the use case. So this use case that we've seen consists of either we see a list of products or we see one product, right? So that is the distinguishment of state in controller. So it's not a change in the domain. The domain has not changed. No user has liked anything or something like that. So the store controller has a selected product, and we also have a product catalog in order to show these products. The product catalog comes in through the constructor and is stored in a member variable. This is a reference to a member variable. We also have a product catalog view in order to create a list of products in HTML. And I create this instance in the constructor. And the product catalog view apparently needs the product catalog in order to create that HTML. So I send it in through the constructor to that. So I dependency inject objects into other objects. And you really need to know this. So if you feel uncertain about this, please practice on this bit and look and try to find out how this works. This seems to be a problem over the years, that students don't really fully understand how things are connected. But it's actually the same product catalog that comes in here through this argument in the constructor that is stored in the member variable and sent to the product catalog view. So all these classes, both the store controller and the product catalog view, knows about the same product catalog. Okay, and then we have the controller code. And this is the do store. Right now, it's very little code here. We could have other things in the store controller, like buying products. So we could have, like, if the user wants to buy this product, okay, then we ask the model to add that product to the order, right? Stuff like that. I want the controller code to be readable. It should almost be like reading the use case. Okay. And what this does is we ask the product catalog view if the user has selected one product for viewing. And then we ask the product catalog which product do you want to view, or the user want to view, and then we store that product in a member variable. so that we can use that in order to select the correct view for rendering. Okay, the next part is a bit more messier, but we stopped working here, so the problem right now with this is that it contains like HTML and Vue stuff right now. So and we're gonna work a little bit with that. But right now it's called getStoreHTML. It probably should be called something else. We've talked about protocols, right? So in order to communicate, we need a protocol. And one of the ideas with model view controller is that we should separate the model and the controller, that is the use case, from the protocol that is in the view. Like, we should really not talk about HTML and stuff like that in the controller and the model. And I sort of break that thing here and confuse you. I've seen some confusion in Slack, so. But that's an error on my behalf, and we're going to fix that hopefully today. So what this does is that we check the controller state first. If selected product isn't null, then we create a product view for that specific product. So we send that product into the product view, and we ask that product to create HTML. And then we had okay, we need a back button, but we really didn't know how to do that. So I've created some HTML here. Oh, yeah. Oh. Stupid smart board. I've created some HTML on line 45, and I've also done a bit of view code on line 46. The worst, they're like two crimes against the MVC rules here. The first one is that we call things HTML. The second one is the little dot here down on line 46 over there. So it's a dot equals, because that is string concatenation. That is deciding how the HTML is going to look, right? So we're going to fix those things. We also needed that backlink, so we're gonna do that thing also. I've sort of have a design idea that we're going to create a navigation view, and the navigation view's responsibility is going to be to navigate this store, like creating links and telling other parts, other views, and other controllers where the user wants to go. Let's check the views also. We had the HTML view like before. It is very simple. It takes a string, the char set of the HTML document in its constructor, and it has a get HTML page that takes a title and body and then creates or returns a string. So let's look at the product view. The product view took a product and created HTML from that product, takes the product through its constructor, saves the product in its member variable, and uses that member variable. Now I've changed this code a little bit, right? So we've never seen this one before. Extracted information up here on line 21 to 24 from the product object, and then creates HTML output by string concatenation, like you've done in assignment 1 in the last part of that, the horrible views task. Okay, so I've extracted title and price and stuff like that, and also this new description, and then I return that string. The product catalog contains a little bit more. Since we have a catalog, we have an array of products. We can see that the product catalog, again, is configured, is dependency injected through the constructor. And we use that member variable in order to build the HTML. This time, I asked the product catalog, okay, I need an array with all the products. I could ask the product catalog something like, okay, I need all the products that starts with a title starting with A, or I need the products in ascending order of price, or I need the products of whatever, like that. So we could have some kind of intelligence in this product catalog. Well, okay, I get the product array back, and that is an array of product objects. Then I for every product object in that array and get the actual product object, and I call that product. And then, like in the product view, I extract information about the product, in this case the title, price, and unique string. We realized that in order to navigate to a product, we needed some kind of unique ID. I create a URL. I've made a to-do here. Sorry. To do here just to make sure that I remember to talk to you guys about these URLs. URLs are sort of links, right? And these links are creating dependencies in the application between different views and between different things. So we need to gather all these things into one mechanism. So we're going to do that in the navigation view. And then I create, just like in the product view, I create HTML. I have this URL, I have the title and price, and I create a list item. And then I concatenate these strings by the dot equal, and then I return that after a header. I also have some accessing or accessors so that I can understand which product does the user want to see. Does the user want to see a product, and which one is that? And since we want the user to be, or the customer to be able to send links, we use get. That is things in the URL, like data sent in the URL. And in order to remember which place in the URL and how the data is transferred there, we have a private static member variable that tells us that a product should be named by P. P equals some unique ID, right? And I use that private static up here in order to create the link. And I use it here to extract information if that link has been pressed. And I use down here to extract the data in that URL. Okay? So in order to make sure that that this string is always the same, I create a private static, and it will always be the same. You should never, ever, ever have two strings that must be the same in two different files for your application to work. If you have that, you will get like a lower grade. Let's say that. So make sure that in your assignment 2 and 4. Okay, what I do here is that I check that the place in the super global array get is set. If it's set, I return that the customer actually wants to see a product. And I use that customer wants to see a product to assert that this data exists. Then I can extract the string the user sent me, and I call that unique. And then I access the model in order to find out the actual product that we're looking for. So I ask the model, okay, do you have a product with this unique ID? If it has a product with that ID, it returns that product object, and I can return that product object out of this. This is higher level output, right? Higher level output from a view that does input, right? Higher level input, so that our controller can do higher level stuff. If it's some kind of product, we will actually get an exception. And yeah, we create an exception. We have not handled that by code right now. Okay, so now hopefully you know that how this class works. And we're going to change some stuff. So we're going to go back to the store controller and look at the navigation things. And we're going to create a navigation view in order to handle these links. So let's start by that. Okay. I include in index that file also. It's sort of my, and now I move these files into the view. So I need to say that, okay, this file exists in the view. And my store controller now needs a navigation view object. It's actually going to be needed up in many methods. And then I don't create it as a local variable in the getStore HTML. Since it's going to be used in many methods, I create it in the constructor, and then I can use this as a member variable. So let's do this. Private navigation view like that. And this is a quite dangerous error, and sometimes it takes a long time to find. I have no this here. So I must say that I'm not going to use a local variable. I need to use the member variable. You probably encountered it already. Okay. Just to make sure that I know what I'm doing, I get back and see that the new error message tells me what to do. Okay, I have yet to create the call the get link to catalog. So let's do that. And let's create, in the navigation view, we are able to create HTML. So let's create a link back. Actually, we had that link in the, like this. Can remove that horrible stuff. Like that. So in order to return to the product catalog, we don't need any more than a question marker over there, right? So let's save that one. Let's check if it works. Oh, the super fat TV. You can see that I've added some lorem ipsum to the description, right? And I've also added the price and the title and stuff like that. And there's a backlink, so let's try to use that one and see if it works. Fantastic. And let's see if we can see the Sony TV super wide field. Yes. Fantastic, it works. So a problem now is that the product catalog view is also creating URLs. So it would be a good idea to let the navigation view handle all URLs so that it has the responsibility of how the URL looks like. So we must ask the navigation view to create this URL instead. And that way we have one strategy for navigation. And that strategy is encapsulated in the navigation view. So let's do that. Let's pretend that we have a navigation view here also. So we ask the URL, the navigation view, for that URL to the product, and I'm probably gonna need to send it the unique ID for it to know how that works. And since I have this private static up here, that private static is gonna be moved to the navigation view, since it's a part of the URL, right? The P up there means a product ID, right? And I'm gonna move that to the navigation view. Like that. And if we do that, we also need this get URL to product. And we said that in order to get that, we needed a unique ID, right? And we had this code over here that actually did something. Yes. So now we can see that the information on how to create URLs are encapsulated in this class. But there's something left. In the product catalog view, I need access to the private static variable in order to check the correct place, right? So this entire method is a part of navigation. Am I viewing this product, or am I viewing a list of products, or the entire product catalog? That information is now the navigation view's responsibility. So I move the entire method. Here. And now you can see that the product URL ID is the string connection between these two methods, right? But we actually use that in another method also. So actually can remove that one since I do it in the other one. No, I cannot. Sorry. So instead of getting the selected product and ask for this place in get on line 51, I need to ask the navigation view for the product that is viewed. And I also need to check that the navigation view has this field set in order to do this. So let's do it like this. I move that customer wants to see product into the navigation view, right? So I call it on the navigation view instead. And then I can ask the navigation view to get the product ID. And the rest of the method can I keep as it is. So let's implement that. Public function get product ID. Like that. Yeah. So why didn't I move the entire method to the navigation view? It has to do with dependencies. I don't want the navigation view to know everything about every part of the program. Since navigation is going to be a big thing in the application, if you have a complex application, the navigation view is going to be big, right? If it needs to know things about product catalogs and products and stuff like that, it's going to have relationship to everything. So in this case, I only want it to know as little as possible, so I don't move the entire method. I just move the ID passing thing. I get the question, won't the navigation view get extremely cluttered after a while? Yes, if you add a lot of different things to the navigation view, it's going to have, like for a full store, it would have like breadcrumbs perhaps, it would have categories, it would have discounts thingies, it would have where navigation has come from, stuff like that. So yeah, it could be quite complex after a while. If it is, you might want to divide it into several navigation views, or you want to like refactor this into something that can be configured instead. Like we input an array of different things into it, and it creates this representation. So most of the methods here is going to look the same, right? It's going to have this is set and get someplace from the URL or stuff like that. Okay, so now we've solved pretty much the worst problem. Now we have a strategy for navigation. Now we're going to need to like remove the HTML thing from this controller class. Now we're in the controller again, and we're going to work with the model view controller problem of having view code here. So instead of returning HTML, I'm going to return a higher level. I'm going to raise the abstraction level and say that I want the active view. And I'm going to let some other fellow actually create HTML from this view. So instead of concatenating strings and stuff like that, I need to move this line 49, where I create the link back to the project some other place. In order to do that, I have two options. One way would be that the product view actually knows about the navigation view also, so that when it creates a product view output, it also creates this back button. And that's the way we're going to do it. The other way would be that we have another view that knows that, okay, we're looking at the product, and from looking at the product, you need a back button. So I concatenate these two strings. So we could have another view that gets this responsibility. I don't want to mess too much with you guys, so I'm actually going to move this into the product view. So when you get a product, you also get the link back. So you might want to avoid that if you want to move this product back button someplace else on the page, right? I'm just doing this by convenience and not to clutter your solution with a lot of views right now. Okay, so now we need a navigation view over here also. Oh, sorry. Like that. And in order to create that one, I need a navigation view object in its constructor. And I create this one here. So I need to send it the navigation view. And fortunately, I got an object of that. Send it here. So the navigation view comes in through the product view constructor. I dependency inject that one. And now it's time to test it. Probably does not work. Product catalog view, customer wants to see product in store control. I didn't move that one. This method has been moved to the navigation view, right? So we need to ask the navigation view if the and product catalog view navigation. Oh, what was the error message really? Undefined property, catalog view navigation, product catalog view 35. Oh, I never added the navigation to this constructor. I did it only in the other. This. Like that. And let's make sure that in the constructor we actually send it, and we don't. So we need to send it. And in order to send it to the product catalog view constructor, I need to create it first, right? So I need this object before the other one. Okay. Now it works. Awesome. So we've changed. We have actually got almost the same behavior as before, but we've moved responsibility within the application to a new class, the navigation view. I said that we're going to do one more thing. Now you can see that we still have this HTML information here, and the HTML was a view responsibility, right? So the controller should ideally not know anything about this. You should be able to remove the HTML view and use another type of communication like JSON or XML or whatever. XML, I mean, to communicate. So you should be able to replace this view. But in order for that to happen, we need another strategy than returning HTML strings here. And the way I'm going to do this is that instead of returning HTML, I'm returning an object of a view. Like this. Okay, and then I don't need that one. So now, the only thing the controller does is selecting the view that is going to be used for output. So instead of returning a string with HTML, which was a dependency to a protocol, HTML in this case, we're instead returning a view and let someone else know that we need HTML out of this view. And in this case, this object is returned into the index. So instead, I get the view object back here, and perhaps over here. Okay. So yeah, let's make sure that this works. Oh my God, it works. So now we remove that HTML thing from the controller, and the controller can just focus on the use case. Yes, so we pretty much rewritten the application without changing anything for 45 minutes, 50. Sounds stupid? No. Code is about communication. Writing code is like telling a story. And probably the first story we write is going to be quite messy because we're not in storytelling mode when we write it. We're in problem-solving mode, right? So the last lecture, I was in problem-solving mode. I need to get this to work. Today, or this lecture at least, I'm in refactoring work. Refactoring means I have a piece of code that does something. I want to change that piece of code to something that tells me something. Or that if this code has a problem, I want to solve that problem without changing anything. So I've done a refactoring for this lecture. And it sort of removes problems from the code or removes future problems from the code. So hopefully this code is better at communicating. Yeah. Let's see, I've got some questions before we take a break. In the context of that, would it be a good idea to create something like a kernel if the navigation view gets extremely cluttered, which could handle URL response, session, etc.? Okay, some of you probably have seen some frameworks for resolving navigation issues. There are some micro frameworks for PHP. If you're interested, if your application is big enough that a navigation view gets cluttered, then look them up. There are some micro routing framework for PHP. You can look them up. You can see how they've done it. But probably for this course, you're going to have very little navigation. So you don't need to pull up the big guns before you have a problem that needs to be solved by big guns, right? Every dependency to a framework or to a library is something that the future programmer is going to need to deal with, right? So a way of keeping things simple is to not use big guns, that is libraries and stuff, before we really need them. Yes. Okay, let's take a couple of minutes break. Let's see each other here 20 minutes past 11. Okay, we're back. So I got a question. What does the @sign stuff things were in the comments mean? And I'm using something that is called PHP doc or PHP documenter. And that is a way of documenting like parameters, member variables, and return values and stuff like that. I mostly document return values and types of variables and stuff. So this is a derivative of what started, I think, with JavaDoc, a way of documenting Java code. So this is something you write in your comments in order to specify things, in order to generate HTML or documentation for your code. And you can do that automatically if you follow this. I don't use everything here, especially not when I'm writing code on a lecture, because it takes a lot of time to communicate using this. So I only try to use it for the most important stuff. And you should know that, okay, we only have like 7 lectures or something like that in this course. So they will be cramped with information, and I will leave stuff out. So it's a good thing to ask. Yes. So please check up on PHP Documenter. It's a good thing. Okay. Yes, we had some code that worked, and now we're gonna make sure that the use cases that we've seen before, and we're gonna start with is working, and we're gonna start with use case 1, where a customer investigates a product popularity. So we've seen that the first part of that use case we can do now. The system presents all product, a customer selects a product, system displays that product, but not its popularity right now. So we need some popularity mechanism in order to do that. And probably, if something is popular or not, can be used on other things than products. Perhaps we have a popularity system that is also on user comments in some forum, or on popular categories or something like that. So we want to separate the popularity a little bit from product itself. So I'm going to create its own view for this. But let's start in the product view, because here we will have some kind of popularity, right? And this popularity should probably come, now I'm designing again, thinking out how the work works, how the code should work. And I'm doing it top down, so I'm inventing classes. So let's say that we have a popularity view. And I can ask that, how popular is this? If I do, I get an HTML back from the popularity view, and I can input it into my product view. So let's say that I need that popularity view up here also in the constructor. Like that. And now you can just create that class, right? Let's see, get HTML. Okay. So let's say that we're returning some kind of HTML. Like that. That should at least satisfy the first use case, right? That we can see how popular a product is. So in order to fulfill this, we need that likes, right? So I just start simple. I just create a local member variable and see if I can get this working. But I have not included it. Oh, sorry. Okay, fantastic. So now I got the popularity of this product, but that should be able to change, right? So we need some mechanism for that. I probably should have some kind of form that so that user can submit if they like the product or not. So let's create a form. And in the form, we create an input button, a submit button. We need some kind of value for that, and we need a name. Something like that. And okay, here we need a method. Should this be a part of the URL? Should it be sent by GET? Should it be sent by GET? Is this information that we want people to bookmark if they like a product or not? Should people be able to send a like button URL to someone else? No. Should be posted, right? Awesome. So I write post here. We need a product URL here, or some kind of return URL, so that we can return to this the same thing, the same page as before we liked. We don't want us to, when you like a product, to return to the first page of the application, right? You want to return to the same product, and you want to see an updated number of likes. Yes, so we need a URL. Probably by now you know that the URL is created by some kind of view, right? The navigation view. Yeah. So let's use the same things we've learned before. Navigation view has get URL to product. So let's use that one. Then I need information about the product in order to create that one. I also need a constructor in order to get my hands on that navigation view. Like that. So now we've sort of solved that problem. In the product view, I need to send the navigation view. When I create a popularity view, I need to send that one a product view. Oh, sorry. The popularity needs a navigation view. That was the relationship. Popularity view needs a navigation view, yeah. But we also need this product. So the product that someone likes is also important information. Otherwise, we cannot navigate back to it. So let's create a member variable. Called product. Yeah. Yes. Okay, that should work. Sort of. The product view also knows the product, so we can send the product to the popularity view. Fantastic. Didn't I save? Oh, it was the namespace thingy. Like that. And a product cannot be converted into string. Oh, yeah, get unique, right? Popularity view. ID, perhaps. Get unique string. Like that. Oh, sort of works, right? Now I got a button, still got an error. The value thing, what should be on that button, the name on that button, I didn't specify it. It just set it to a variable. But now at least I can see that it works. It should return us to the same page also with the same error if I click on it. And it does. And if I press F5, I can see that I have post data. And that data is resubmitted. I got a question on why not make the navigation view method static? That way you don't have to instantiate the class in every view. Okay. The reason for not making things static is that I want to avoid unspecified relationships or relationships that are not viewed from the interface of a method. Almost every, if you create static things, you are probably making it harder to reuse your code or rewrite your code. That is the real. It's yeah. That is the easy answer. If you're starting to create static stuff, you're unable to create member variables later on. You're unable to create state or stuff like that. So it's a better way of sending things around and let the constructor show the dependency of an object. So right now we have two dependencies, right? We need a navigation view and we need a product in order to create this view. Okay, let's remedy the problem of the value. So the value is what's on the button, right? And what we send. So we had two different use cases. One where we voted for a product and one where we removed our vote, right? You remember? Maybe we should look at those again. So we have one, customer increases popularity of product, and the other one is customer decreases popularity. And decrease, I mean that the customer no longer likes a product. So it's like unliking stuff, right? So in order to create this one should be like for some cases, and for some other cases if we have liked before, something like that, the value should be something else, like unlike, right? So what I did there was just a way of designing things. I'm just writing how I think it should work, right? And perhaps this code stays, perhaps it's going to be replaced. So I need some mechanism to find out if I have liked this one before. But let's start simpler than that. Before we have that mechanism, let's just test it. Let's just make it true first. We have liked this one before. And so, okay, now I like this one before. It's true. And then button is called unlike. Doesn't happen anything because I don't have any logic behind it, right? If I set it to false, I haven't like this one before, it should be true. Yeah, it should be like instead. Okay, that seems to work. Also, I need some kind of message system. It would be kind of nice if I could say that, okay, you just like this one. Some acknowledgement of what happened. Maybe like this. Some kind of message. Maybe in a p tag. Maybe this thing up here should also contain a message. And a dot. So let's create a message. Let's keep that message empty for now. And let's put another if statement here and some weird thing. If we just liked the product, or if we just liked it, if you just press the like button for whatever reason, the message should be something. You just liked the thing. Else, and we have two different cases here. Either we just unliked it or we just liked it, right? So here we need another if statement. If we have liked it before, or maybe we should rename that. We like the thing. So if we just liked it and we actually like the thing, we have this, you just like the thing. Or if we do not like it, you removed your vote from it. Something like that. Okay, now we need to find out these two booleans, right? These two booleans are needed together with the number of likes to find out the correct output. So we need 3 parts of information. We need how many likes are there, did the user just like this product, and did he like it or not, really. So let's start with this one. Since this is the view that creates the form that checks if someone, this is the view that creates the form with the submit button. This should also be the view that checks if the submit button is pressed or not. So we can actually, the information if we just like the thing, if we press the button, is already in this view. So we could replace that with a method instead. We'll call that did the customer press like. And instead of get, we check the post, and we need some location of the post, right? Post like ID. Oh, sorry. And that needs to be in the name down here, right? So I'm gonna make this HTML a little bit more formatted so it's easier to see. And in order to get the same string in both locations, post like ID. So now I've created a link between the form and the method did customer press like. Let's see if it works. Okay, didn't. Semicolon was missing. Yeah, it did work, right? So you removed your vote from it, but sort of didn't, right? Or shouldn't it be unlike? No, it shouldn't, right? If you just unliked it, but this thing, you have removed your vote from it, then you're able to like it again. But the mechanism for if we did like it or not is just a Boolean right now. So let's check the other one. We like the thing equals true. Oh, let's not resubmit. Let's just reload the page. There's no message. We didn't change the state. I press it. I sort of changed the state, but there is no change state mechanism, but at least I get the message out. You just like the thing. And we're able to unlike it if we should choose to do that. Okay, now we need two pieces of information to make sure this works. And the first one is how many likes are there? It would be kind of nice to have some kind of separated thing from the product, but that can contain this kind of information. Usually, this is state, right? Usually state is in the model. So let's invent some part of the model, like product likes, or something like that. Member variable, it should be a model object. Get number of likes. And yeah. So I create this object in the constructor. I'm probably gonna need to dependency inject it in the future, but let's just get something that's working first. So ask create an object of that class, and that class responsibility is to keep how many likes are there for a certain product. No. Now we're in the model. And we also asked two things. We need a constructor that takes a product, and we need a yeah, like that. So let's just test this thing. In order to test it, I also need to require the class. Like that. Fantastic. It worked. We didn't see any change because I still return 0. So let's see if it works. I changed the state in the model to a 1. Oh, suddenly every product is liked, right? At least once. So now I've moved the state into the model. So I've created a model class that encapsulates the state. It could load this state from a file. It could load and save this state to a database. Could do a lot of different things. So I'm just gonna, let's load it from a file. Let's keep the number of likes for a certain product in a file and extract that information from that file, just to have some kind of persistence of that state. So there's a very simple API for saving files, and it's like this, or loading files. So and that file will be loaded in the same folder that the application is run from. So it does not remember that we're in model right now. So maybe a good idea would be to have like a folder called data or something like that, and then load it from there. Oh, new folder, data, new file. Let's put a 5 in that file. Oh, sorry. Don't remember what I call it. Let's name it after the like that. And yeah, let's just test it. Didn't work. Oh, I never returned that one. Awesome. So now we'll load the state from a file in this product likes. Every product right now has the same file. And that is sort of a problem, right? Because every product will be liked when someone likes a product. So, yeah, but let's take that problem a little bit later. Now we need some mechanism so that a user can actually like products and not. Yeah. And so the popularity view could sort of implement this mechanism itself, right? Could sort of, okay, let's just ask this, if user liked the thing, just did press like, I could sort of call this product likes and ask it to change. Increase the number of likes or something like that. But that is actually state changes, right? So that is no longer read-only access to the model. So that is a violation of the model view controller rules, so to speak. So we need a controller to be able to do that change for us. I already got a controller called the store controller, but I'm actually going to add another controller that is only used for this likes. So and I can call the same method popularity view, maybe. And I need an arrow. Oh, sorry. A bit confused here. So we create a like controller instead. And yeah. And we ask that controller to do what it likes. Do like products. Maybe just do like. And I create a new controller. Did I just name it like controller? Popularity controller. Something like that. And in the store controller, if we have a selected product, we can ask the popularity controller to handle the popularity things, the voting and stuff like that. So let's do that. Let's have a do like in the popularity controller. Okay, so what happens here in the do like? If the user wants to like a product, then we should increase the popularity of that product. So we actually had did customer press like in the popularity view. So if I had a popularity view, instance of that, I could ask, did customer press like? So I need a popularity view. We've already created a popularity view somewhere in the product view somewhere, right? And it's probably a good idea to let these be the same objects. But let's see here. What does the popularity controller? If the customer pressed like, then we need some kind of model that we can change, right? And we had that product likes model, right? Let's keep it simple. Do like. So I'm ignoring this unlike thing to begin with, so we're just able to add more to the likes. Okay, so now I need access to both of these objects. since I just do it like that to make it a bit more. Like that. Now this should work, provided that I supply the correct arguments to this one. And if the customer pressed like, then we do like, and that in that function do like, we should change the content of the file. So let's see if we can submit the correct parameters here. So the popularity controller needed a product, a popularity view, and it also needed the product likes. So now I create a second object of this. Feels sort of wrong, right? I should have just one instance of this. I created these objects in product view also, right? No, product view here. I created a popularity view here. And in the popularity view, I created the product likes object. That sort of feels a bit fishy. Now suddenly I got several objects for the same thing. There is a problem with this, and that is if you have several objects for the same thing, these objects may not have the same state. Some object may have another number for the number of likes than another object. So that is a bad idea. So instead, we should dependency inject these responsibilities into these classes. Dependency injection was that we took an object and sent it into the constructor of another object. So instead of doing this thing, bad naming, but I do that. So popularity view now takes a product likes, and the product view should take a popularity view. Like that. And now we just change how these objects are configured. Instead of the object creates the instances of its child objects or member variables, it gets them through the constructor. That is dependency injection. Very common. The good thing about dependency injection is that it increases testability. It shows how a class works by exposing its dependencies in its constructor. It's like saying that in order to get an instance of this class working, you need to supply these other things that you also need to get working. Yeah. So if I need to, now I just change stuff, and if I need to find out what broke, I need to check I can just check the error messages. So I probably forgot a semicolon somewhere, or colon, like that. The like controller, it's not called that, it's called popularity controller. Store controller line 36. Oh, I didn't write it. So now I need to start up this application somehow. Since every object needs some object in its constructor, somewhere I need to create these objects. We're going to see that down in the product view, we're also going to need the same objects. So I'm actually going to need to create member variables, but let's take one step at a time and let the error messages guide us to get this correct. Okay, for argument 1 to popularity view construct must be a navigation view, none given. So the popularity view needs the navigation view. No problem, we have a navigation view. Second problem, popularity view, argument 4 must be a product. No problem, we have a product, a selected product. Argument 3 to popularity must be a product likes. Okay, then I need to create that one before the other one. Argument 1 to product likes must be a product. Okay, class popularity controller not found. I never included that one, right? Okay, let's continue. These are good error messages. They allow me to understand how the program works or should work, how the design is set. So I don't complain about these error messages since there's no really problem for me, right? So I've seen that our time has run out. So I could really continue to do these things, and we would probably in the end get something that may be working or maybe don't work. But we're going to continue with that tomorrow. I just want to say one thing. That is, in a lot of the files, I have not yet created member variables for the members. Oh. Well, imagine that you're seeing code. Okay, I see dead code. Stupid joke. So thank you very much for watching. Tomorrow we're gonna continue and fix the problems and get some likings done. Thank you.